What is going on, guys? Today we are back with another video. I've actually already done the fishing today. Was not really sure what I wanted to film, but a lot of times the bite will dictate what we end up filming. And today went out, fished a very shallow water pattern, which we've been fishing with a lot of success this spring. You know, a lot of that 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 feet of water. And there were some fish there, but they were very finicky. So immediately started looking around at some other stuff, and we've had very, very cold mornings and a lot of big switching winds. A lot of times that very shallow water bite can be very volatile. And what happened is a lot of these fish actually pushed out a little bit deeper, and we started finding them on inside and outside weed edges in depths from like 12 feet to like 17 feet. So that's kind of what ended up happening today. And you guys will kind of see me slowly make the transition from that shallow stuff to the deeper stuff. And we were pitching jigs with minnows on, a lot of 1/4 ounce stuff. And yeah, that's what today's video is going to be about. A lot of times, like I said, I come out with a specific video to film. Today didn't really know what to film, but the bite kind of changed a little bit. We started fishing some of that stuff. So today we're going to talk about a lot of these inside and outside weed edges, what they're going to look like on your side imaging, and how we're catching fish on these spots this time of year. Hooked up right there. Just saw those fish, set up on them real quick, and boom, bite number 1 of the day on the first cast. Can't complain about that too much, huh? Actually a pretty nice fish too. Gorgeous. A little walleye to get things going here. You can actually see the bottom here. We're in 10 feet of water, but very, very clear lake. Go ahead and grab the net here. Come here, buddy. There we go. On the board. That's how it's supposed to work. 1 cast, 1 fish. I doubt we can keep that ratio going today, but we'll take it for number 1. Good sign anyways. Little gold jig here, all wrapped up in the net. Maybe we'll just get the fish off and then get the jig out, huh? That seems logical. Maybe we won't get the fish off. Maybe he's just hooked so incredibly well. There we go. There we go. Beautiful walleye to get things going. About a 19-incher. Pop that jig right away, too. A couple jigs into it. Beautiful, beautiful fish right there. Let's let him go. Back for more. All right, got a pretty decent little pod off the left here. It just came through on the 360. And they're on side imaging, too. Right about there, probably not even that far. I'm sitting at 14, kind of the little lip right here comes up to 8. Looks like those fish are just on the deeper side of the lip. There's also a little bit of like short cabbage in there. I would assume just like that we'll get bit. Right there. Oh, I love that pitching to him like that. Just a wily something here. Gotta be a walleye, but man, is it just freaking out. What is it? Yeah, it must be the way he's hooked. I mean, look at this thing. He's just like doing cartwheels down there. There we go. Number 2. I'm gonna make quick work of this guy here because there's just a whole bunch more out there. Yeah, look at this guy's hooked. Right in the eyeball. Now, part of fishing is unfortunately that you got to put a hole in a fish to catch one. That fish will be living and just fine. They are probably much hardier than we believe. One question we always get is like, oh, that fish was bleeding, why did you keep it? Well, you could keep it, but in my mind, it's definitely going to die if you keep it. If you let it go, at least he's got a chance, but a fish with a poked out eye will definitely make it. Oh, look at that. I think we got a slip bobber going down here. Oh yeah. Got him right there. Is it a walleye way up shallow or is it a smallmouth? Just kind of saw another pot of fish here. Pitched the little slip out before I was about to cast. Oh yeah, nice walleye there. Well, I'm not going to say they're 100% on the slip bobber, but there's a nice one right there. I absolutely love slip bobbering. If you guys have watched this channel for any length of time, you probably know I'm a slip bobbering freak. I absolutely love it. I think it's an incredibly effective way to catch fish, and it works incredibly well in a lot of these clear northern lakes. There's about a 16, 17 incher right there, but pretty much immediately. Also in Wisconsin, you're obviously allowed 3 lines an angler, which helps because then you could fish, you know, 1 or 2 kind of static presentations like this, kind of the bonus line, right? And all we're doing, we'll talk a ton about slip bobber fishing here in the near future, but right now we're fishing an inside weed edge, and I'm just kind of pitching this thing out there right on that inside edge and just kind of letting it swing through that whole area. So I'll kind of cast it out perpendicular and just kind of leave it on a closed bail, and I'll just kind of let that thing swing through that zone kind of while I'm using the jig and the minnow on the other side. So when we're fishing weeds, a lot of people will view it as just you're fishing weeds. You're fishing a huge, immense weed bed. Well, most of the time when we're fishing for you know, these bigger schools of fish on weeds, what we're looking at is either voids in the weeds or outside weed lines or inside weed lines. Inside weed edge is kind of probably one of the more overlooked spots. You know, a lot of guys will cruise around with their sonar on or down imaging on, and right as they start to come into that weed bed, you know, whether that's 10 feet or 8 feet or 15 feet, they'll anchor right there, spot lock right there, and start casting. When in reality, a lot of these fish, especially in the springle position, on the inside weed edge. And what that means is you might have a giant flat that's all from, you know, 20 feet to like, you know, 3 feet of water. And as you come into that, from 20 feet on a lot of our clear natural lakes up here in northern Wisconsin and Minnesota, is you'll hit a weed edge at like, might be 13 feet, it might be 15 feet, and that'll be your outside edge. And then you might have weeds between, let's say, 15 feet and 9 feet, and then you'll be void of weeds way up shallow. And that inside weed edge is an absolute killer this time of year. You know, you think about a lot of these big flats where these fish might be up roaming a lot of this sporadic rock and gravel and 5, 6, 7 feet of water. The next thing they have to drop back to is that big inside weed edge and a lot of that, you know, 12, 10-ish foot of water type of stuff. And we're catching a whole bunch of fish on those kind of spots. And your screenshots and your side imaging are going to look something like this right here, or something like this right here. You can see the weeds real well defined, and you can also see the fish schooled up right here. We're also today finding fish on that outside weed edge, which is kind of surprising because 16, 17 feet is as deep as I've targeted walleyes in the Northwoods so far this season. But I think it has a lot to do with these cold nights and just the water in the shallow is almost shifting around with a lot of this big wind we had, and they kind of want to get in some stability. And because of that, they move out to that little bit deeper edge. We're also seeing a bunch of fish there, and you know, those screenshots look very similar. Here's a screenshot of fish on an outside weed edge, and all I'm really doing is moving up and down these large flats, in and out of these weed beds, and I'm looking for fish on either that inside or outside. It seems like there's a few more fish on the outside than there is on the inside edge, which is kind of surprising, and that's basically what we're doing. And a lot of times you could take one of these same really big shallow flats you've been fishing all spring, bump out maybe 5, 10 feet deeper than you were previously fishing, and start fishing a lot of those weeds where those fish are sitting in these very volatile kind of spring weather patterns. Right there, fish on. Doesn't feel super big. Is it a walleye though? It is an angry walleye. Look at that beautiful clear water sight right there. Don't get much better than that, does it? Just kind of working up and down this big weed edge. And we'll kind of talk a little bit about inside weed edge, outside weed edge, things like that. But man, a lot of these clear kind of natural lakes, you'll have that weed edge that, you know, start kind of that mid-depth zone, 8, 12 feet of water, and there'll be normally an outside edge in that 12-foot zone or an inside edge in that 8-foot zone. That's all we're doing, is just kind of crawling up and down these edges and looking for them on the side imaging at 360 and casting at them when we do see them. Pretty simple program. That was actually the first cast just in this little pot here, and I'm gonna need another minnow. You could probably get by without minnows, but they're not like super jacked up. It's more just kind of like real soft kind of bites. If they're really popping it good, then I'd say definitely go with more of a plastic kind of a deal, but catching fish, can't complain. Oh, there's another one right here. Got him right there, hooked up. We are having some fun now. I absolutely love this kind of close quarters pitching type stuff. And anytime you can catch them in clear water, I mean, that is just as cool as it gets. A lot of these kind of similar sized fish, but hey, I mean, we'll take it. When we get on them, they're moving real quick, but when we get on them, we are pretty much guaranteed catching them here. Kind of been switching around my jig color, a bunch of different stuff. Here is kind of just a, I don't even know what they call that color, but it's one of my favorite colors kind of everywhere I go. I can already see the YouTube comments, oh Tom, I thought every color was your favorite color. I know, I do say that a lot. But when you film by yourself, sometimes you just gotta make up conversation, right? There we go. In all seriousness though, I do like that color. Might be able to get another go out of this minnow here. One thing, especially when you're pitching weed edges, keep in mind is making that repetitive cast over and over. Remember that line angle. No, we're not going to get another use out of that minnow, but try to visualize, you know, how that weed edge is. This one runs just like this right here. So this side, I'm going to be on the inside edge. Right here, I'm casting just on that outside edge, and I'm bringing it right up that thing. If you intersect that weed edge, what's going to end up happening is you're only going to be in the zone where the fish is for a little bit, right? Where if you can keep casting right up and down that seam, you're gonna be in the zone for most of your cast. Wow, that was a soft pickup right there. I literally thought it was a weed and I was just about to pop through it, and I was like, oh, wait a second. That's a walleye. And it kind of seems like on this spot in particular, which is a pretty big spot, most of these fish are the same size, or we are just catching most of the similar year class fish here, but it's all right. Not a bad morning of walleye fishing at all. As far as just catching a bunch of fish goes, ton of nice eaters in this lake. Super cool. That one's literally still milking a little bit. We'll let that one go. But kind of crazy. The water's been the same temperature for like 4 weeks now. But hey, putting it together, catching some fish on the weed edges. Well, thank you guys for watching. That is going to wrap it up for this video. Just a quick little Sunday video. Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there. It is Mother's Day, and I'm not sure what we're going to be filming next or where we're going to be going. We'll be doing something. I do want to get out of town here soon and do some maybe more Mississippi River stuff, Lake Pepin stuff. We'll see. Not really decided yet. But I appreciate you guys watching this. If you guys are not yet, please subscribe to this channel and stay tuned for more content. We'll see you next time.